Hello everyone and welcome back to yet another Abyss review. This is the 5.3 Abyss or January of 2025. Happy New Year, we're in 2025, ladies and gentlemen. So yes, this is the 5.3 Abyss. It should not overlap with another Abyss like it did with 5.2. What can you do? Timing is timing. It will happen every now and then. But welcome. Of course, we're also taking a look at the Imaginarium Theater that reset at the start of the year. So that's that. So let's start with the Abyss part of this video. In general, I have to say, of course, I did foreshadow or forewarn you about this Abyss. It is the most Natlan Abyss of them all so far, and it's also an Abyss extremely catered to the banner units. It's laughable, honestly. As I said, I forewarned about this Abyss like one or two videos ago, and I think it is justified if you have played it. But we have to begin with floor 11, as it is first. 9 and 10, of course, we don't take a look at because, well, first of all, you auto-complete them now, and they never reset. If you are a very new player to the Abyss, then you can check the 5.0 video for that. But, shall we start with floor 11? 11-1 is a Venti's wet dream, honestly. In the first half, because there are a total of 24 enemies. I will repeat, in the first half of 11-1, there are 24 enemies, and they are all Natlan tribespeople in groups of 8. There's nothing really hard about this. It is not a monolith defense, I should add, so again, the number of enemies is not a problem. But yeah, this is the Venti chamber. Even if it's floor 11 and not 12, the satisfaction you'll get, of course, is so good. Yes. But yeah, it's just tons of enemies. There's nothing much, but again, like the satisfaction of using a Venti in such a chamber is just way too good. But the second half of 11-1 has the Natlan Automaton enemy and 2 Ruined Drakes, which is so basic compared to the first half. 11-2 might be a problem for very new players if you haven't reached the Natlan especially or haven't faced a lot of the new Abyss enemies, as 11-2's first half contains 2 Hilichurl rogues and then 2 of the new Abyss enemies camouflaged as Mitachurls. These guys need to be hit a lot of times to remove the camouflage, and then you're able to damage them, and that's why I say that new players or players that don't know anything about the combat of the game would struggle. On to the second half, there are 3 Vishaps, 2 big, 1 small, and they are followed by 2 Avatars of Lava, all of which again are very basic enemies with not much to worry about. And we reach 11-3, which also could be problematic for a new player, as the first half starts with 2 Cryo Abyss Mages and follows with an Abyss Cryo Herald. Lots of Cryo because Mavuika and Arlecchino are on the banners, and also because Kitlali gives buffs when you melt. And 11-3's second half is also a bit dangerous because it contains 2 Hydro Mimics, which are both the same type, and they are the ones that do the water gun attack. And they are placed next to each other, which can lead to a lot of damage and constant stagger. So be careful against the Hydro Mimics, they can catch you off guard. And that's floor 11. Overall, an interesting lineup of chambers. Yes, there aren't many enemies with very specific counters, except for the Cryo enemies on 11-3, and the Abyss enemies that need characters with lots of hits on their abilities. But because they are on 11-2, even teams that lack that characteristic in their abilities will be able to finish them sooner or later, and should have plenty of time. As said, this is more aimed for newer players to the game or the Abyss as a, dangerous or tough chamber. So we move on to the big boy, which is floor 12. And when I said in the start that this is the most Natlan Abyss, I really meant it, as we will see in the lineup. But before that, something that hasn't happened in years has appeared in floor 12. And that is Leyline Disorders. Yes, there are effects on floor 12. Man, the last time this happened was what? In Azuma? With the moon phase thing with the energy stuff? Damn, it's been so long. It's literally been years. But yes, there are effects on this floor 12, and they are divided between the 2 halves. They are also both buffs for you, thankfully. On the first half, you gain a 75% pyro damage buff to normal attacks, and this is here for Arlecchino for most of the part and Mavuika, but other pyro carries can utilize it, Yoimiya for sure, Diluc with his attacks that he weaves in between skills, and Huto for her normal attacks before charge attacking. Really powerful buff that, yes, is there mainly to sell Arlecchino and Mavuika, as said, but it can also help with weird team comps that might be needed to counter the enemies as a makeup of losing, let's say, a teammate that was there for buffs in exchange for the necessary counter. You get what I mean. Hey, there's an enemy that needs cryo, so instead of bringing a Hydro teammate, you'll bring a cryo teammate, but because they aren't a buffer for your pyro character, let's say, the buff makes up for it. That's what I mean. And on the second half, oh boy, you've got a 75% buff to Night Soul aligned damage. Yep, there it is. A buff that's only for Natlan characters, and man, it's almost as if there are 2 Natlan units in the banners, and one of them is the Archon, and we have to push them greatly to get sales. And those are the buffs. One is pretty great for all pyro carries, while the other is bullshit in order to settle Natlan units, because instead of making the characters likable and especially interesting in gameplay, we can just force buffs like these to guilt trip you into pulling for them. Anyway, let's leave this behind and get into chambers. 12-1 starts off decently tough, with 2 boss chambers that first have enemies and then the boss appears. Thankfully, both have easy enemies. The first half contains 3 Dendrosauruses, followed by the fat fucking Mountain King. This boss isn't the worst, and with the fruit mechanic that if you hit with Pyro, it takes a good chunk of damage, it becomes a passable boss. But for the life of me, I cannot stand that stupid fucking spin attack that just eats up your time, and it can do it back to back to back. My goodness, I hate when it does that. The second half starts with 3 Cryosauruses, followed by the new boss that appeared on 5.3, which is the Cryo Natlan Priest Gal. The name of the boss is Spirit Speaker. But this bitch is one of the most annoying bosses ever and is completely catered to Mavuika and Kitlali. She begins the fight by splitting into 4 to 5 clones of herself that non-stop teleport around and switch places attacking you. And when you destroy all of them, yes, it's not enough to find the one clone that she's hiding behind. You have to destroy all of them. Then she will stop. Then she will get stunned. She also non-stop moves and teleports around while attacking herself. So these clones are cryo clones, so you need the necessary counters to destroy them. Mainly pyro, but if you use a character from a specific tribe from Natlan, you can freeze the clones in place. Thanks. The 2 characters that do that are Ororon and Kitlali, and you see why this boss is made for the Mavuika-Kitlali combo. Kitlali freezes the clones, and Mavuika, being a pyro claymore, does pyro attacks and blunt attacks that easily destroy the clones. My goodness, it's almost as if they really want to push the banners. But actually, I found what might be the second best way after Pyro to counter the clones. And that is Fischl. Because the clones are cryo clones in every sense of the word. They always have a cryo aura on them. Meaning that every time you trigger Superconduct on them, you trigger Fischl's passive talent. That Thunder strikes the enemy and it shreds the clones. She's an amazing counter against them if you can fit her into a team. I went in with a Baizu Al-Haytham Fischl team, and she just deleted them, genuinely. I was surprised that Pyro was doing great, but this was insane. But yeah, Pyro is the easy way with Claymores and good Electro Appliers following suit. I mean, Ororon is a 4-star, so he is a suitable thing because, of course, he's Electro, he is from the specific tribe, and Night Soul bullshit, even though I actually did not see if this boss is weak to Night Soul damage for the clones. But yeah, an extremely annoying boss. With how much she and the clones teleport around, again, it's just an annoying time waster. Alongside the fat Mountain King spinning around, like, you can see how this chamber can be pretty tough when it comes to just inching out the timer. And hell continues to 12-2, where on the first half is another enemy plus boss chamber. The enemies are the Chenyu Vale Zhuanwen beasts, followed by the boss version, the Solitary Swanee. The enemies aren't as basic or easy as the Sauruses, I have to mention, but they aren't the end of the world. But Swanee, on the other hand, can rightfully fuck off. So this boss, first of all, moves a lot for some of its attacks. Not around, it just has animations that move its hitbox, making you miss so many of your attacks. Then, it will cover itself in Hydro, where you have to freeze it and then do another reaction on top to stun it. Usually it will be melt since you brought Pyro for the Mountain King, and spoilers 12-3 as well, but something like Shatter can also work. You can freeze the boss and then Kazuha with somebody like Kazuha, with his skill into plunge combo, he will also trigger Shatter. Or of course use the one character in the entire game made for melt teams that also happens to be in the banners. But you know what? Those aren't the reason I mainly hate this boss. It's the fucking hitbox that I hate. I mean, additionally with moving around its hitbox with its attacks, I cannot for the life of me stand this thing. Oh my goodness, this thing's hitbox is the worst thing, especially if you are playing Hu Tao. Ask anybody that used Hu Tao against this boss and ask them how many times Hu Tao went to the moon by charge attacking it. It wastes so much time because you cannot plunge attack if it happened. You have to just watch Hu Tao slowly fall as she's skyrocketed from this weird as fuck hitbox that it's got. That is the one thing that annoys me. It can also happen with the Mountain King, but especially the Swanee that is laid on its side, it's constant. Moving on to the second half, we've got 2 of the new Abyss enemies. You better have teams with lots of hits, else these are not going down. Their stupid shield feels like it takes forever to fill up in floor 12. Not that it's impossible, but simply these enemies are not fun to go against in the slightest. The stupid shield that of course is weak to Night Soul damage, stacked with the fact that they teleport around for no reason. Why? Why must they also teleport around? You are already wasting my time with stupid mechanics to make the fight artificially harder with the shield, that the teleport on top is so unneeded. I mean, thank fuck that it's only 2 of them, but can't say the same for 12-3, because 12-3 starts with a Cryo Wayob. You know, the stupid enemy that makes an arena and instantly and constantly eats up your energy, because all Natlan characters depend on their skill? Actually, I would like someone to tell me in the comments, please, because I somehow haven't seen a clip or clarification of this. How do the Wayobs interact with Mavuika? She doesn't use energy, so does the Wayob fully ignore her, or does it eat up her resource for her burst? Please genuinely do tell me if you've used her against the Wayob. But yeah, so the Wayob is very annoying, but you can play a bit of energy management in the previous chamber to ready up for the Wayob. If you have, let's say, a Bennett Kazuha combo, then try to keep their bursts fed for the Wayob, although it needs to be said that the Wayob's shield is a weird one. It's a hybrid of a true shield, let's call it, that just needs any kind of hit to break, and a cryo shield from what I've noticed, because it's very vulnerable to pyro, but I've also seen things like hydro attacks that would normally not work on cryo shields damage the Wayob shield. So you don't need specifically pyro against the Wayob, but it helps a ton. And the Wayob is followed by a Fontaine mecha, which is completely unrelated and unnecessary, because the second half of 12-3, ladies and gentlemen, contains the Abyss Papilla, everyone's favorite boss from Natlan. Oh boy, this thing is in 12-3 of all chambers, and you guessed it, it is unfathomably annoying. More so than the normal Abyss enemies, because if you dare take a little too much time to break its shield at the start, your character gets 2-shot. Half is the wave it unleashes, and the other half is corruption damage, because of course we needed corruption damage. And when I say a little too much time, it's not a lot of time, like maximum 10 seconds. You can genuinely miss the timer if you dare use a 5-star character burst, because they will waste your time with the animation. At least with the normal enemies, there isn't such a harsh timer to break the shield, but this thing punishes you and very hard for missing a very, very tight timer. But of course, Night Soul is its meant counter, but there are some combos that can break the shield. But you seriously can feel the difference between no Natlan character in the party and even using one in the team when it comes to breaking this thing's shield. I tried plenty of teams that had varying levels of success, with the most consistent one being the combo of Fischl and Xingqiu. I mean, who could have guessed that the 2 best elemental applicators in the game would do well against something that wants lots of hits to break? But yes, I paired them with Baizu and Al-Haytham, and they deleted the shield very quickly. But seriously? Trying a team, like replacing Xingqiu with Auron, let's say, he alone broke the shield as fast or faster than them, which is such a fucking joke. But as I said, this Abyss is the most Natlan-made Abyss, and one completely catered for the banner units. Sure, previous Abysses catered to the banner units, but this is a step up from those, because we have to find ways to sell Kitlali and Mavuika, because they aren't that unique gameplay-wise when it comes to the Genshin combat system. And that is the Abyss part of the video. This isn't the hardest Abyss ever, I will have to say, but it's so specific with the stupid Natlan bullshit, and the first half catering to melt like crazy, that it's hard to say anyone can enjoy this abyss. I mean, of course, everyone that I have seen that said this abyss is one of the easiest did it with Mavuika and Kitlali, and my honest reaction was to just laugh. Because you literally fell into Mihoyo's trap. Like, hello, of course this abyss is going to be easy as fuck if you're using the 2 units that this abyss was completely catered to. Like, okay. Anyway, shall we finish things off with the Imaginarium Theater? Well, if you thought the abyss was to sell Mavuika and Kitlali, boy, do I have news for you, because this round of Imaginarium Theater had Pyro, Cryo, and Geo as the elements. It's almost as if Mavuika's best team is her, Kitlali, and Zilonen. A horrendous combo of elements, because most Pyro characters are DPSs that want Hydro teammates. Cryo is in a horrendous position, especially since before this Imaginarium Theater we hadn't seen a Cryo character since what? Risley? We better fucking seen 5.4. And Geo is also in a very weird position where many Geo characters want only Geo or as much Geo as possible or as many other elements as possible, so it's double bad for them. As for the starting cast and enemies, it's exactly what I just mentioned. Diluc, which, thank fuck it's not Klee, again, but Diluc wants Hydro teammates. Bennett, who is just very general, of course. Ganyu, who would like a Kazuha or two to deal damage, and or Hydro for freeze, which let me check. Ah yes, she's using Blizzard Strayer! You know, the set that is useless outside of freeze? Kaeya is next, who is a free unit, so why the hell is he here? Like, yes, I know, because there's also a leveling limit to Imaginarium Theater, but still, why isn't there a banner unit here? Like Charlotte, Diona, anybody. But yeah, Kaeya, who, oh yes, is also using Blizzard Strayer! The next is Navia, who wants as many other elements as possible, and Noelle, another free unit, who usually wants a full Geo team. Like, this is the worst combo ever, but it's there because Mavuika, Kitlali, Zilonen, of course. And as for enemies, we have the Primo Geo Vishap, which is okay. It's easily countered with a simple shield. The Electro Regisvine, which is fine since, except for Geo, Pyro and Cryo are its best counters. Suani, because he needed to be present in both the Abyss and Imaginarium Theater. And lastly, the Fat Mountain King. I mean, these bosses aren't the hardest, but the element combo is so bad that they actually become hard, especially if RNG fucks you over with what characters you will get as you go through Imaginarium Theater. So all in all, this Imaginarium Theater sucked, because the element combo is there to sell to very specific characters that are in the banner, and it fucks with everyone else. And in short, both the Abyss and Imaginarium Theater of this month were not really enjoyable at all, because they really wanted to FOMO and guilt trip you into pulling for Mavuika and Kitlali. Thanks for watching, like the video if you liked it, sub to the channel to help it out, and I do have a request for you. I really want to make a very specific video about something I have discovered. It's not Genshin related, honestly, or fully gaming focused, but it is a tech focused thing, and it's something I really would like to share because I actually found I stumbled upon it really randomly, and it's such a useful tool. Yeah, I would really like to hear in the comments if you would potentially be interested in hearing about this discovery. Again, to give it a bit of it, it's a really, really awesome tool that I generally believe will very much surprise you if you are able to use it. Anyway, once again, thank you for watching. Comment down below if you would be interested in that video idea, and I will see you for the version review once Lantern Rite starts and wraps up. And it's gonna be a long one since we have to look at the entire Archon Quest. We have to wrap up the entire Archon Quest, see each act and how they affected the entire story, you know, give all of my full comments on it. So again, it's gonna be a pretty long video. Maybe I'll just speed run my talking to maybe, you know, make it shorter. But yes, and then afterwards, there are 5.4 rumors of Risley rerunning, so the next character review might be there. But again, if you comment down below, again, tell me about the Mavuika interaction with the Way-Ups, and do mention if you would like to hear about the tool that I found. That might be the next video. So, again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Goodbye.